Welcome to the Cherland podcast, where I, Cherland, meet up with a musician, hear about what makes them tick, what kind of experiences they're bringing into their musical journey. On today's podcast, we have Susanna Lovsky, a Ukrainian-American singer-songwriter based in Los Angeles, California. I first heard Lovsky at a recent house concert in Burbank, and I loved her voice and kind of her overall demeanor. She just came out with a new song called Just Friends, as well as the video, which she did herself along with her partner. You're going to be able to hear the song, watch the video. I'm going to link both of those things in the description below. You're also going to be able to hear a little bit of the song at the end of the episode, but I'm just going to do a little bit of a clip because I actually want you to go to her Spotify, go listen to it there so that she gets plays. On this episode, you'll hear us talk about overcoming physical injury and limitation and using adversity to propel you forward in life. Really hope you enjoy this conversation between myself and Lovsky. Susanna Lovsky, how should I refer to you? Susanna? Suze Lovsky?
You can say Suze.
Suze. Great.
Yeah, that's what all my friends call me, so might
Great.
as well.
I appreciate it. I got to read a little bit of your, there was the Shout Out LA article that you had done a while back, so I got to read about you through there. I really love the story of going from Craigslist band to band breakup to being able to go solo, and I would love to like give you the floor of like where that journey has taken you, like how you've it seems like there were some things that you had to go through in order to decide to go solo for yourself, so I'd love to hear about some of the context of what led up to that.
Okay, cool. Also, sorry, I think the leaf blower guy just started, so...
No, it's great.
So, I pretty much, I found the band on Craigslist. I had decided this one day that I wanted to pursue music, and it's really difficult when you are starting from scratch. Like, I didn't know where to start at all. I just knew that I liked poetry and I loved music. I was a dancer before, and when I quit, it was for health reasons. My back had been injured, and what I took away from quitting was my favorite part of dancing was the music. So I decided, like, I want to make this somehow, make music that I could dance to or whatever. But that moves people. And anyway, the band taught me a lot about establishing yourself on socials and in live settings. It organically broke up. I mean, there was a little drama, but we don't have to get into that. Sure. When that happened, I kind of was unsure of how to pursue things on my own at first. So that's why I was latching on to different partners. I actually dated someone in the band, and then I was doing like covers with him, but that taught me how to, like create little covers and all that. And that helped me realize that I really want to be on my own, because relying on anyone is just difficult. So then I decided, my friend invited me to a party for networking, and I'm not really much of a partier, minus if I get invited to go dancing, then I'm down. I don't drink because I'm crazy as it is, so like I don't need any substances. So anyway, I was working at a restaurant that night, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll go. And I ended up meeting some really cool music people. One of them got me in the studio with some other cool music people. And that's when, this is back in 2018, that's when I started really going full force solo. Because I met these two guys, one of them who was the owner of the studio we were in, and the other was pretty much his apprentice, but like had his own thing going, but he would engineer sessions and he was his own artist. So that guy I ended up becoming a duo with, but that was super cool because I learned even more about production, even more about not selling yourself, but being able to create a brand and market yourself in an appealing way, and also learned how to hone in on a sound, because before I was just all over the place, especially because the band I was in wasn't mine. It was other people's band, and they had me on as a vocalist. So I never really developed a style. To answer your question, long-winded way of getting there, I found my sound within the studio and started developing these songs as a solo artist and also working on cool collaborations within this duo. Yeah, it was all intuitive. What I really liked about the process of anything I was making, it was all, okay, today let's start somewhere, and it would be like the producer would feel a bass line coming and I'd be like, that's it, just the bass line, and I'd be like, I have an idea. And out of that would come a verse and a hook. I would imagine different scenarios. My first song I ever released, I wrote it about being in a thrift store and imagining this guy like kind of like picking through the clothes, and the song starts out with "See you over there with that blue suede on," and it's called Blue Suede. Yeah. So anyway, it was just like a lot of storytelling, a lot of imagination, a lot of intuitive creating. So it was cool.
There's so much story in there that there's so many different ways we can go. I want to back all the way up to back pain. In dancing. Okay. So dancing, how big of a space in your life was dancing?
That was everything.
It was everything.
When I quit, I lost my identity. But it's funny that humans can latch onto anything for identity, because music became my identity pretty quickly, and I've learned recently how that is dangerous. Dancing, I started at 5 years old, like 6 years old for real. 5 years old, I was watching and, just doing my thing out on the outskirts. I was a bit timid, but what I was doing, what my mom explained to me later, was I was watching so that I could learn on the sidelines, so that when I came out there, I wasn't completely unaware of how things went. Yeah. So I guess that's kind of been a constant for me, is I like to quietly learn things first and then come out with, hey, I'm trying this. Yeah, I did that till around 21. That's when I quit. Mm-hmm. So I got my 10,000 hours in with that. It was really brutal to let go of it because it's everything I knew, but I knew that what I was imagining, I couldn't see myself doing that my whole life. I didn't know that there was so much more to the dance industry till I came to LA, but by then I was, fully music. But I was competing. I did Latin ballroom. So competitively did Latin ballroom, my whole life. And it was consuming me for ages. Like, I didn't have any sports that I did at school, and back then it wasn't like Dancing with the Stars was really a thing until way later. So now people think it's cool, but like no one knew about it before. I was the sort of weird girl that would get fake tans, and people would be like, why are you going away this weekend to some random competition? So that also taught me a lot, that whole part of my life.
Yeah, I've heard that it's incredibly straining on the body to be a dancer, kind of in general. Like, was there, as you were learning about your injury, often you can like see the injury on the horizon, and then then you continue to wear it down, like as you go, and then there's like typically like a stopping point of like, well, now you can't. So like, what was, I just know this from like a lot of my friends. I grew up in a volleyball family, so so my entire life was about volleyball, and I personally didn't experience injury, and I'm super grateful for that. But a lot of my friends, you can see like it's very normal for your rotator cuff to go out, and your knees to go out. Mm-hmm. So that's a bit, but normally the rotator cuff, just because you're like doing the back and force around motion and just getting a ton of force mid swing. That's one of those things where it's like you only have so many hits in you,
right?
And you slowly see your number going down, and that relationship is really interesting. What was it like for you to kind of come to a reckoning with like physical limitation in that area?
It was pretty scary. Super cool, by the way, that you did volleyball and come from that, but it was so worrisome. I didn't know what was about to happen to me. Luckily, as a lot of things have happened in my life, I was led to answers or ways to help myself through family and through friends. One thing led to another. I was in a rehab, in Arizona. It was actually the Arizona Cardinals Rehab Center.
Wow.
If it wasn't for, it was through my sister, but if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be, because the only other option was surgery or a cortisol shot. Pretty much what happened was I did this crazy boot camp for the last competition I did because of the back thing, but it was before the competition. I did this crazy boot camp. We did things that we shouldn't have. Like, I did lunges on heels and things that I don't think they looked into. I finished that, got home, and was picking something up and tweaked my back, but I didn't know that I just got a herniated disc. So I thought I pulled a nerve or pulled a muscle, and I went with it. Like you had said, you kind of see yourself deteriorating, but you don't know yet. I'm thinking, I'll recover. So I was doing stretches, but then it got to a point where I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sit. I couldn't do anything because my sciatic nerve was getting compressed by one of my discs. Whoa. So it was freaking horrible. And I had found out once I had gotten an MRI that this is very common in dancers, but mostly people in their 40s. And I was 20. So I was like, wow, okay. Yeah. That sucks.
You're
and
throwing salt in the wound as a doctor. And by the way, I know you're 20, but I'm just going to say this normally happens at 40. You didn't need to know that necessarily, but here's a quick burn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you didn't feel scared enough. See you when you're 40. Let's see what happens then. I was like, because he told me, like, it's surgery or the shot. And I was like, I'm a very holistic person. Not, like, insanely holistic. Like, I'll take an Advil when I'm in excruciating pain, but I'll wait till I'm in excruciating pain to take one. I was like, this freaking sucks. Like, there's got to be something else. And then my sister, through her, somebody she was with, her boyfriend at the time, his brother, had this facility and had this thing he had started that not many people were doing back then, but it's everywhere. But it's that electro wave therapy, where you put those little patches on and it sends electric currents to heal. But this was like next level. Like, I have a video of it and sometimes look back and I'm like, I can't believe that's me. They put this backpack on you type thing, or pack on you, and the wave, the electric shock pretty much, and shock your body so that it pretty much messes with your brain receptors, your pathways, to push you to not feel pain through feeling pain, if that makes any sense.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I was in this horrible bubble of pain for a week and a half, and usually they do it for a month with their patients, but I didn't have that time because it was in Arizona, so I couldn't be there for more than that 2-week span. And every day we went up like 50 volts. The goal was to get to like 100 in 2 days, so it was brutal. So you do that while you do the movement that gives you the most pain. So that was how I got better.
Whoa.
But I didn't.
And it worked?
It worked. Yeah, but I still have to be careful. Like, I'm a little bit hesitant to do certain exercises. And luckily I've always been into health, like super into health, to the point where I was a trainer and like I was giving group fitness lessons. Like, I love anything health related, anything workout, fitness, blah, blah, blah. I absorbed the information pretty quickly with how to rehab myself, and I stayed away from a lot of things. But there are a lot of strengthening things. And that was that. That's when I saw things falling apart, and started pursuing music, and still dance on stage. I like to, I mean, you saw me perform, but that's like more mellow. I get pretty crazy on stage, and I love to, if it's fast-paced music, I like to throw in some dance moves. I actually tore my meniscus at a show one time.
Oh my God. This is intense. It sounds like you have a ton of resilience in you. Like, a lot of things can bring you down, but it seems like you really refuse to stay down at any point. Did you? Yeah, man. Where did you get this work ethic? Is it family, friends, or like where did you first see this in yourself?
I mean, I could give you the LA answer and say it's because I'm a Capricorn, but I'm going to give you the real one and say
Nice.
it's my immigrant family who I cannot let down.
Yeah.
By no means. My family's from Ukraine, and they immigrated in 1990 with my sister being like 4 years old. So I'm first generation. Usually immigrant families expect their kids to be like doctors or pursuing law. So choosing the arts, I have to go extra ham and really believe in myself. So yeah, there is no room for doubt, which I have a lot of, but gotta push through.
My mom, I think I had mentioned this when we met, but my mom moved here from the Philippines when she was a kid. So I also feel that same twinge of like I can't let them down. So much has been sacrificed for me to be here.
Yeah.
So who am I to squander the opportunity? So
Yeah.
like how do you, I mean, you said it really well, which is there's no room for doubt, which I have a lot of. So how do you kind of reconcile, how do you understand that dichotomy?
It's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of roller coaster of emotions. You gotta give yourself pep talks and stuff. I'm lucky and grateful to have very good people in my life, especially at this point. I feel like I've sifted through the BS and now I have my squad. You know, I have a lot of support around me, people telling me not to give up on days when I feel like I can't convince myself to not give up. In the beginning, for like the first 4 to 5 years of music pursuit, I was pretty is it one track minded when you're just moving forward?
Yeah.
And I only saw that and I wasn't really worried. You know, I would have quick thoughts of like, what if this, or who even cares? But then it would immediately be squashed by, you want this so bad, like you can do it. If this person can do it, you can do it. But also you love this, and like all the reasons why I love it would flood in. And then, you know, the challenges when it's been like around 8 years, and just in general, like pursuing music, not like me being solo for 8 years. It's fairly new, the solo career, but still it feels like it's been the time span of how much I've been pursuing it.
Right.
It's like, wow, it's almost been a decade and nothing's happening. That's recently speaking, I got so down that I didn't want to touch music, write a song, or sing for months. Wow. Like the show you saw me at, that was me being like, you gotta do something. And up until like a few days before that, Miko is one of our good friends, Dalton's good friend, now my good friend. Up until the last few days before the show, I didn't even want to say I'm confirmed, but he knew I was confirmed. But in my head, I was like, I don't know if I'm playing this yet. I practiced leading up to it, but yeah, it's scary, honestly, like just in general, because when you've done the process of a song release, announcing it, doing your content, I know people are learning now how much it takes, but they still don't know how much it takes, especially if you make your own content. And kudos to you, dude, for this podcast and everything you edit and push out there. Like, oh my God, plus your own music. It is so awesome. And I think when you've done that so many times, you start to think, no one cares. Like, why is this not getting bigger or moving more than, you think it would? Yeah. And that's when the doubt comes in, and it's hard to quiet that thought or those thoughts. What I do, I don't know if I answered your question. Also, I had coffee like an hour ago and it's hitting me now. So that's why I'm really blabbing. I try my best I pray a lot. And I used to do like oracle cards that they really helped me get grounded, because they would come in with these cool messages. But I mainly meditate now and pray. So I use Headspace whenever I start to get overwhelmed with my thoughts, and praying helps keep the faith of this machine going. And yeah, I think the main thing I try to remind myself of is the fun in all of it. Like
Yeah.
the fun in the process, the point of why I pursued this in the first place, which was to share my feelings so that they could be digestible and relatable to others and others could be impacted by them. But
Yeah.
it's mainly a way of expression. And that's really what matters. And like if people resonate with it, awesome. But if they don't, I shouldn't get down on myself because I did something at the end of the day for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. How does that feel to you when you feel like like when you're writing and you really do feel like you've processed through something? Does that feeling actually make it feel all worth it to you? Or do you still, I mean, I feel like it's also really common to want other people to validate it. That's kind of the thing that I'm always coming back to, of being like, well, I actually think this is really good. So I also want other people to validate it. But also, if it's so good, why can't I just let it be, you know?
Dude, yeah, 100%. That same exact battle. I think in the process, it's less me thinking about. I've been able to teach myself from the beginning because I knew this was very important. Because when I started by listening to hits so that I could teach myself song structure, like way back when.
Yeah.
And when I would write, I wouldn't think, obviously, because I had no idea what your own style is and how to do that and find that. So I was focusing on what would other people want to listen to. And that's why now during the process, I never think about anybody else. I try to fully immerse myself in my emotions. So when I do figure that expression out and am able to translate it into a lyric or into a melody, it's the best feeling for sure. I think when the final product gets put together and it's like I'm on the fifth final version of the mix, I'm like, I really hope people like this, or like I hope they feel this the way I feel this. And that's why releases are tough, because if you don't get those reposts or you don't get little validation on social media or whatever that empty stuff is, you start to kind of get down on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
In those times when you're not getting the validation that you think you should, or when you are like finding yourself in a space of not writing and like just not having the motivation to go through it, like what are there are people in your life who like really care about you in those moments, and they want to say the right thing to like help. Like what if you were to like feed them a perfect script, like what are some of the things that you think would really help you to hear in those moments?
Honestly, my close friends have their perfect script because they know me, and
Yeah.
I don't like bullshitters, and I don't like, oh, pardon my French, I don't know if we're allowed to swear on here, but I really respect honesty and transparency, and I don't care if like it's not for somebody, something I make. But that's, I think, in the beginning processes of creating anything, I think it's pretty dangerous to ask for feedback. I've learned that with things I've made outside of music. That's why when I send something that's a draft but like closer to something I feel comfortable sharing, if they say how much they like it, awesome. There is really no perfect script. I am lucky enough to have grown up with parents that didn't praise my sister or me, so I don't expect any kind of praise. So if there is, oh, awesome, I like this, I just keep going. Like, yeah, I don't know. I almost rather not have any of that so that I don't get used to it. Because then I think that's a little dangerous to expect some kind of positive feedback all the time. Sorry, not to be cynical.
No, it's really interesting. I think this also like touches on the immigrant family thing, because this is like I have there's a story that my sister and I tell each other of me coming home with a report card and like showing it to my mom, and it's all A's, and then in homeroom it says NM, which meant no mark. because you don't get graded in that. And I show the report card to you only get so many report cards a year. And so I like show it to my mom, like, hey mom, here's the report card. And she looks at it. She goes, what's NM? And I was like, it means no mark. And she goes, good. And she just hands it back after saying good. Yeah. And that was like and like she wasn't, it was, I like caught her on a very specific day, but like, yeah, that it's like a very common type of feedback from like immigrant parents. Yeah. Of like, yeah, you know, yeah, I assumed that you were going to get all A's in school, because if you didn't, what the hell? Yeah. So.
No, it's so funny. It's because it's so true. And it's like, it doesn't matter where you're from. It's if you're foreign, that is literally the answer of every parent. Yeah. What is NM? And all the A's are right there. Yeah. You're not going to say one thing about oh, good, or wow, you got to name this. No, what is the one thing that doesn't look like it's supposed to be there? All right, mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you, dude. I mean, I didn't get straight A's in school. Oh, I did in some of my years, but some of the others they were a struggle because I just didn't like homework. I didn't mind learning, but it was needing to turn in something on someone's time that bothered me. So I was like, well, I'm going to do it on my own time. So a lot of the things I did it was A+ work, but they were graded poorly because they were late. My grades suffered because of that. So I don't know. I have always thought school is awesome, but like the grading system is a little tough for people who not necessarily rebellious, but just don't really want to do things on other people's time.
Yeah, and you were already on someone else's time with your like practicing for dance.
Oh my God.
So it was like you already are held to high levels of excellence elsewhere. So you're like, I'm not going to prioritize this other thing that I care less about.
Exactly. Oh man.
So you start singing as you're like finishing dancing. I don't really see like the like rise of musical skill like in as like stated in your story, you know, like where are you like learning how to sing? Where are you like learning how to write songs? Like where is that in the timeline?
I was actually singing since I was a kid, but it was for fun. My mom put me in Broadway. I would do also outside of school. So it was just like all this extra stuff that she was shoving me into because she could see that I was more of a creative, artsy child. Math wasn't my strong suit. So she was like, yeah, let's push her to do something like dance or whatever else. But I didn't train. I just did it for fun at home in front of my mirror so much to the point that I think I trained myself. Not necessarily properly, because later I did train and I was told like, you're singing from your throat, blah, blah, blah technique, but always liked to be the center of attention. I sang happy birthday as a child at every birthday event we had. My parents liked to party amongst their Eastern European friends. Like everyone had dinners, birthday things. We took like little local trips. I always tried to perform and I always tried to make some kind of entrance, or I would get upset. There's like footage of me getting upset that someone started happy birthday along with me because it was literally me on a chair and singing, and I'd be like, everybody be quiet, and they'd be like, this girl is a freaking brat. So anyway, that's where the training for singing comes in. That's amazing. But yeah, it was one of those things where my mom would lightly tell me like, you can sing. But I always would think back to American Idol, where those people that during the tryouts would sing and Simon would be like, who told you to be here? And they'd be like, my mom loves my voice. So I was petrified. I was like, I'm definitely crap because my mom tells me I'm good. So that was the thought I ran with for super long. And then actually, this is where the vigor and the drive came in to pursue music, because it is super random to just go from dance and to music, and music was always a part of my life regardless of whatever I was doing, it was always something that I gravitated towards. And anywhere we were, like if I heard something, it was just, as a kid even, like I would light up. And my mom even got me into French class, like wanted me to take French in high school as the language you choose. You know, you could do a language, whatever, because I was fluently singing French as a 5-year-old.
Jeez.
Like, my ear is crazy, that I can pat myself on the back for, but I would memorize songs in different languages. Italian, I'm named after an Italian song, and sing
What's
them.
the song?
Susanna. It's super cool.
Okay.
It's by this man called Adriano Celentano, but everyone is always like, oh, Susanna, and I'm like, no, because I'm not American, but I am, but like, my parents wouldn't ever name me after that.
Right.
Back to the point, my mom thinking, you know, I can sing in French so well, put her in French class, didn't do so well, but it always came down to my ear, and I had this feeling like I really want to try this, and I was dating this guy, with this guy, who was a rapper, and we don't even have to go there, but he would like crank the music when I would sing, so you couldn't hear me. Yeah. And I was like, this motherfucker is trying to push me down and pretty much tell me I can't do this. He broke my heart. Many stories like that. I took that and ran with it, and after that happened, I just pushed myself forward, and I was like, I know I can do this. Like, there's something in me. I know I have something. And then, I just started training myself. So that was my training. Man,
that's like the making of every good supervillain, of like someone squashing syndrome. Go home, buddy.
Yeah, for real.
And you being like, got it.
I went home.
The best singer, you know.
I went home and started writing, and every boy has been the catalyst for a good song, and I'm sure they're all weeping now. Seriously, the love, and it's so funny when I think about my name, Lovsky. When I was sitting down to think about my brand and like what I want to exude to the world, it's like, it's all around love. It encompasses love in every way, the nitty gritty part and then the ethereal part of love. But yeah, it's definitely, that has been a constant and helps me get through writing and spurs ideas. I think also right now it's been blissful for over a year now with the person I've been with. It's sometimes like, oh, I have to realize that what I was writing about was pure pain. And so you have to kind of like veer off into this blissful world and try to change up what your muses are, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really healthy, because
it's very healthy. Yeah.
You want to have good relationships in your life, and you want to make space for that.
Yeah. It's just a matter of like changing your perspective on what you're writing. And also the fuel was coming from like, if I would get hurt or feel any pain, I would immediately go to writing. But when you're not feeling that pain or anything like that, you have to remind yourself, well, I still have to write. And I think that was another thing that I kind of stopped doing without realizing. And then that doubt hit, and then I was like, well, can I even write still? So that's been, it's been tough.
Have you ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender? I bring this up a lot.
Oh, one of my favorite shows.
Yeah. One of the
great shows.
One of the most important arcs, I think, is like the source of fire for Zuko. For him understanding like fire doesn't come from rage, fire is beauty and light. And like whenever we lose like a coping style, like a negative coping style, we always like forget like why we had it in the first place, and like what it provided to us was like a smidgen of healing. But when you get really healed, like then that's where like real power is. It's like you can, if you get really healed, you don't need to cope. You just have all the power back.
Yes.
And that's, I think then you get into even deeper things like believing that you belong somewhere, and then you like your eyes open up to all the spaces that like make you feel like you don't belong. And you're like, there's plenty of rage to be had in the world, but there's also like deeper emotions to explore than this one person didn't want me. Even though that is like the most, it resonates so well because it's the most personal. But
yes,
that's great. Good for you, man. Resilience is just like the word that keeps coming back, of just being like, yeah, I don't know what it is about like things just not being able to hold you down, but it seems like that's like a real through line in your story of like something that would often be interpreted as the thing that ruined you is actually the thing that's accelerating you. And I think that's like a wonderful superpower to be able to have. It's just
Thank you.
It's just a comment for you.
That's a great soundbite. Honestly, I couldn't have put it better. That's honestly like how after getting through the hurdle, that's how I have felt. Like things have been very difficult. There are things I probably won't share till later in life, like parts of my relationships in the past and really difficult things that I've had to go through. Even, silly things like dancing and back injury and all of that. But yeah, I don't know. That's always what pushes me to keep going. I think there's just so much learning to be done in difficult situations. Something that I try my best to do is to always see why something's happening. Not be a victim, like why is this happening to me mentality, but why is this happening to me? Let's look at it and look at what the positive might be. Like the injury had made me slow down, made me think about the future, made me realize I don't think I want to pursue dance like this, like the way I have been.
Right.
Competing and just being a machine that's never resting. Thinking outside the box. What do I want my legacy to be? All of those things just out of that one situation. So many other experiences that opened my mind to other points in my life and other doors and other people and so many amazing things.
Yeah, that's a strong way to look at it. I love even the tone of the question. I think, again, you said it really well. Like not why is this happening to me, but why is this happening to me is like a really, even that says a lot. I want to ask you a few questions that I ask everybody. Before we head out. What is either some good music advice you've received or some bad music advice? It can be about your career or your sound or whatever.
Good or bad? Let's see. Bad was told to not do a specific style because I didn't fit the image. And that was like later. Well, in the moment, I was like, oh man. And I really got down on myself for even trying to do that. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, but I loved making that. And it was so easy for me to make that.
Yeah.
I never really went back to making exactly that. It was sing rap. It was like Post Malone before Post Malone. I was told, don't do that. But then I felt like I identified with it in some way. But later on, I took that and still made that element happen. Like in my newest song, I have I have my second verse as almost kind of rapping in my own way. So that was advice I really didn't like. Anything to do with just because you look that way, don't do it. And I was already getting like people, whenever they'd hear me in the studio, they'd be like, that's you? And I'd be like, okay, what does that mean?
Sure.
What did you expect me to... They didn't expect me to sound the way I did based off how I looked. Who cares? Whatever. And yeah, I mean, good advice. Probably just make things. Yeah. I was getting in my head about future like shows, blah blah blah. This was when I was just starting, and my cousin, who is the most awesome music person, he has his own reggae label, music management company, but he was like, Suze, why don't you make some songs first? Like that's the most important thing, and then you can worry about all that. Yeah, just whatever people are pursuing out there, make a ton of it first and then start worrying about all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Any books or authors that have meant a lot to you in the last couple of years?
My whole life, J.K. Rowling, because I just love Harry Potter.
That's great.
But I can say a book. I don't remember the authors. I'm really bad with names. All the Light We Cannot See, Invisible Bridge, those kind of go hand in hand because I'm very fascinated by World War II stories. Anything set during that time. I think it's just really close to me because my grandpa went through it. Yeah, he was a Holocaust baby, so. Wow. And then I wouldn't even be born if it wasn't for a Nazi letting my great-grandma go with my grandma on my mom's side. Yeah, so that's a lot of other stuff. But any novel based in that time. And I love so many other things. I have a lot of self-help books, health books. I feel like, The Nightingale. I gotta shout that one out. I know her name's right there, so I'll say it. Kristen Hanna. So good. So good.
Great.
Read it in 3 days because I couldn't put it down.
Nice. Well, that's a great review already.
Yeah. I feel like I'm missing so many, but we'll just let it go.
Great. And then you just came out with a song. And with the video. So I'll be leaving links to that in all the description and things like that. But are there other things that people should be looking out on the horizon for as well?
Just listen to that song and send it to your friends and watch the video because I did it myself, and mostly every release I edit and figure out how to shoot it and blah blah blah. Dalton, my boyfriend, helped me shoot this one, but it was me directing it and editing it, and it's just a lot. So when it's a lot, I love seeing that people are actually enjoying it. So that, and I'm gonna be releasing a lot of music in the next few months, so Just follow me on the socials and Spotify, because then it gives you the update that your favorite artists are dropping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Suze, thank you so much for your time. Honestly,
yeah, dude,
it's a pleasure to get to know you more. Hopefully we'll get to do another show at Miko soon.
I would love that. And sorry for blabbing. I really went off today.
No, that's the point of the show.
Oh yeah, I guess we kind of talk on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you, dude. Thank you for having me on. You are amazing. Everybody go listen to Connor's music, because we had it playing in the car, and you are a great songwriter. And
thank you.
It's hard for me in interviews because I get so fascinated by the people interviewing me. I have to suppress questions that I have for your life and what you do. So I'm don't ask that and be quiet. But you're an awesome human, and I hope I can interview you soon.
Well, you can. We can all grab a dinner or something. I'm sure my wife would love you and Dalton.
That would be awesome. All right.
Awesome. Cool. I'll talk to you soon, and we'll clap us out.
You spend all your days looking for meaning in your scattered mind. Something's wrong with me for wanting someone who don't make me smile. But yeah, you end up wanting what you shouldn't have. And I wish my intuition could have had my back. No looking at my phone, thought I could handle that. Nobody could have known it would feel like a trap. Me stuck inside your room, the walls keep falling over. And I've been thinking while you're next to me.
Thank you kindly for listening to the podcast. It's really just an excuse for me to meet amazing people and learn from them. So if you like this episode, feel free to take a look at some of the other artists I've talked to, or let me know if there's someone in your life who's a musician that you'd like me to talk to next. You can learn more about my music at connorcherland.com, or find me on Instagram or Spotify under Connor Cherland, ConnerCherland. All right, see ya.